Hi everybody, I'm Stefan for Plus, and here is the preview of what we are going to create today. As you can see, we have some abstract energy like fire thing that we are going to create in After Effects using trapcode form and layer maps. So let's delete that and start the tutorial. First of all, create new comp with these settings and let's call it alpha map, and time duration doesn't matter, you can make it shorter, for example 10 seconds, and hit OK. After that we are going to create a new solid, layer new solid in white color. It's important to be in white color, and let's call it map and hit OK. After that, grab the pen tool and draw a shape, maybe something like that. The shape doesn't have to be perfect, maybe something like that, and hit F to reveal the feather options for the mask and set it to 85 maybe, or 75, and that's okay. Maybe take shift click to take these points and take them right here, and bring the rulers to line up these 2 points. As you can see, they're perfectly lining up with the ruler, and center this, center it and maybe tweak it a bit, but that's okay. And after that, let's create a new adjustment layer and let's rename it blur, and come to effect, blur and sharpen, and apply fast blur effect. Hit the repeat edge pixels checkbox and set the blurriness to 100. Take the rectangle mask tool and mask the top part of the image and set the feather to 80%. This way, as you can see, the top part is softer than the bottom part, and that's exactly what we want, because we want the flames to fade out as they go out of the screen on the top. So that's our alpha map. Now let's create our actually let's create a new composition and let's call it main and hit OK. Drop in the alpha map composition and turn it off. After that, create a new solid layer and let's call it form and hit OK. Come to effect, trapcode is off the screen, but if you have trapcode form, search for trapcode and apply form. Let's close this preview and settings and leave it like that. And now let's create our fractal strength composition. So let's create a new comp and fractal strength map and hit OK. Let's create another solid, white, and the name doesn't matter. Now let's duplicate this layer, come to the solid settings and change its color to black, hit new, and now let's take our alpha map for a reference and select the black solid, select the pen tool and create like a circular shape right here, for example, something like that. And let's create the rest of the mask. Maybe something like that. It doesn't matter so much. And let's see. Actually, the actual form of your energy bow depends of the form of the alpha map. Just to let you know. And after we are done with this, turn off the alpha map and hit F to reveal the feather for the first black solid, and change the feather to 160 maybe. And after that, let's Control D or Command D to duplicate this solid, hit M to reveal the mask, select it and delete. And let's turn off this solid and choose the ellipse mask tool right here, and let's create a circle holding out Control and Shift. It creates the circle from the center. So let's create circle and maybe scale it down a bit, and let's see, let's bring the rulers. We want the circle to be right around here maybe, and you can create a bigger circle because we are going to feather it 150 pixels, and I think that's okay. Maybe scale it down just a bit. It's all about tweaking in this case, and it's a bit more complicated because form renders too slow and it will take forever to get the settings you want, but I think it's worth. So let's come to the main composition and drop our fractal strength map and turn it off again. And now let's move on to the fun part, which is setting up our trap code form. Let's open the base form tab and leave the base form to a box grid, and set the particles in this space to 2 because we want 2 planes. Actually, let's create temporary a camera. 35 millimeters is okay, and grab the orbit tool, and as you can see, these 2 planes. Let's turn off the camera. I'm going to use it only for preview purpose, but not for the final render. And come to the size Z and set it to 80, which will shorten the distance between these 2 planes. As you can see here, we can control the distance. Let's turn off the camera and come to the size X and type 1400, and size Y 1000. And basically we want the trap code form to be just a bit bigger than our composition, which is 720p. So that's okay for me, but you can tweak the settings. And for the final render, you want to crank up the particles really high. In my case, it's 2800 by 2000. And as you can see, it takes forever to render these particles in a full res. And I'm going to drop down this to maybe 5 times less than the final render, or maybe more, like so, because we want to work faster. Let's drop down the resolution to half, and let's set the trap code form center to maybe like, let's see, 450, because we want the center to be at the bottom part of the composition. So 460 is okay, and I think we are done here with these settings. Let's move on to the particle settings. Let's open the particle and increase the sphere feather to 100. Size 1 is okay. We don't want size random. Opacity, let's drop it down to 10%, because when we increase the number of particles here, the core will become a completely solid core, and this is not what we want. So let's leave the opacity to 100% for now, but for the final render we are going to tweak it. And let's change the transfer mode to screen, and let's change the core to something like that. We will core correct it at the end, so it doesn't matter what core, just some kind of core, so we can see it better. And I think this is okay. Let's open the layer maps menu and come to core and alpha, select our alpha map, and let's set the functionality to alpha, and map over X and Y. And as you can see here, we have our shape. Let's undo the particle count, and let's come to the fractal strand and open it and choose the fractal strand map over X and Y. And let's move on to the fractal field, where we will set the cool displacement of the trap code form to create these abstract looking flames kind of things. So XYZ linked is okay for this case, and set the displace to 160. And as you can see, the particles are already displaced. And now we are going to tweak the flow settings here. Let's set the X flow to -200, because let's see, because we want our particles, or actually -200 on the y-axis. That's right, because we want our particles to move upwards like flames. And let's set the flow evolution to 20, because we want this evolution to happen slow. And let's come to the fractal settings here, and let's see if we can tweak something. Let's try to increase the F scale to 12 to get a bit more detail inside, because if we bring this number down to 3, you will see the displacement pattern will be so large that you hardly can notice a displacement. So let's leave it to 12, but feel free to tweak these settings and give it a try, create something different just by playing with these settings. And let's see, let's set the complexity is 3 already, so it's okay. And now let's move on to a very important section here. Come to Spherical Field and open it, and as you can see, we have two spherical fields here that we can use, but in my case I'm going to use only the first spherical field. And you can visualize this field by hitting this checkbox. And now let's set it up. Let's set the strength to 40, and let's open the trapcord form settings, come to form and come to Fractal Field and open the base form. And what we are going to do now, actually open the Spherical Field and Sphere 1, alt click on the position of Sphere 1 and link it to the center of trapcord form, because we want this sphere displacement to happen at the center of trapcord form. And that's the reason why we created our form to be bigger than our composition, because we moved the whole planes with particles to the bottom, because we want this displacement to happen at the bottom and to be linked. So if you move the whole thing to the right side, the displacement will be linked, or to the left side, excuse me. And let's see what we can change here. We can change the Z position, and let's change it to 10 to bring it forward. And as you can see, if we increase this number, it's too much, but let's set it to 50 or 100. It moves backwards, I think. And in my case, I'm going to leave it at 10 to be here. Turn on the camera and let's set the radius to 350, because we want a warp radius to create this kind of a energy ball thing. And let's set the feather to 100%, because we want this to happen very soft. And let's turn off the visualize field checkbox. And I think we are almost done with the settings of trapcord form, but we have a lot of work to get this done. So let's move on and let's see how it looks now. So increase this and this, and let's drop the opacity to 10%, and it will take forever to render, but the result will be great, I think. Yep, here is the result. As you can see, very cool looking thing. And actually here comes the hard part, when, as you can see, we have like a cutoff here, but you can't be sure because everything moves up. And let's see on this frame here how it will look. And it have to render everything again and take another 1 minute or 30 seconds to render just a single frame. And if you don't like how it looks, you have to come to the alpha map or fractal strength map and readjust the mask and shapes to get it right, and come here again and wait for it to render. And it's really hard because it's not like in a real time. You can't see it in real time. And I think we should decrease this number. And if we decrease it like so and come to the main comp, let's see what we will get. And the displacement should be very low in the I mean low at the edges, and we will have displacement only in the middle. As you can see, the displacement fades away and it's stronger only here. So let's set this to 25% maybe, and let's move this circle, let's decrease its size and move it like so here, and come to the alpha map and maybe decrease its size to -10 pixels, and come to the main composition and wait another minute to see how it will look. And yes, this already looks better. and I think that we have to come to the trapcode form and maybe offset this position here. So let's come here, delete this expression, and just for the sake of the tutorial, lower these numbers and increase the opacity to see what's going on, and move it just a bit, maybe like so, and let's link it again to the center of trapcode form, and yes, this doesn't work this way because when we link it, it will change, but that's okay. Let's come here, increase the opacity, actually decrease the opacity to 50%, and come here and multiply this like so, and maybe decrease the resolution just to see how it looks. And actually that's pretty good if you ask me. We have kind of abstract looking thing like energy bow, and let's get it look right. Let's create a white solid layer and hit OK and create a circular mask in the center of our energy bow, which takes really forever to render. I'm going to load this particle count in the particles in Z because I can't wait forever, and I don't want to waste your time by waiting my computer to render this. And set the feather of this to 200, and this will be something like a hotspot in the center of our energy bow. Let's set the transfer mode to add, and let's collapse this layer. After that, let's create a new solid, doesn't matter what core, and let's call it OF for Optical Flares. At the time when I created this thing, I used no white factory because Optical Flares was released later on, but now you can put a 3D white in the center of trapcode form and drag the flare to this white, but I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to change the flare type. Let's see here, maybe I'm not going to create my own design now, but let's see something that will look cool. I think this will look cool, but not cool enough for this amazing energy bow. Maybe this, and this is kind of okay. I don't like this iris thing here, but let's see. Okay, let's don't waste more time and just choose something, and I think that this will work fine for this case. Let's set it in the center here, and blending mode, set this to screen, or you can change it to add if you want, but it gets too bright than in screen, so let's leave it at screen now. And let's set the flicker If you use no white factory, you may want to come to the brightness, alt click and type an expression. For example, let's see, we go 2,30, which means change this number here 2 times second with 30 units in the positive and negative part. So you know what I'm talking about. It's the simplest expression in After Effects. But delete this and come to the flicker of optical flares and set the speed to 2 and amount to 30, and basically it's the same thing, and you can easily change the numbers here and get the needed result. And after we are done with our lens flare, let's create an adjustment layer. And by the way, the shortcut for adjustment layer in After Effects CS4 and CS5, and this shortcut is new to CS in version CS4. In CS3 it doesn't work. It's Ctrl Alt and Y to create an adjustment layer, which is a pretty handy shortcut and I use it all the time. And now let's color correct this. Come to Effect, Color Correction and tint it. And now let's come to Color Correction and let's say Color Balance. And I personally prefer a blue color, kind of a bluish, light blue color. So let's say the red balance shadow to -100. Let's set the green balance to -10, and let's set the shadow blue balance to 60%. At mid-tone green balance to 25 to make it not so much saturated, and mid-tone blue balance set it to 90% or 50, because 90 will kill us, and set the highlight green balance to 25 to reduce this mid-tone blue, and set the highlight blue balance to maybe kind of 50 or 60 or maybe 24, 25, and I think this is okay. And the problems come from our lens flare, which is too bright. Maybe try to scale it down a bit to 85%, and I think this is okay for me. Maybe you can delete this or hide it, this glow thing, to decrease it, and then play with the color settings. I'm leaving it to you. And now let's come to the trap code form and let's decrease our opacity to 10%, and let's increase the particles to their original number, and let's set this to full res to see it how it will look, and increase the particles in Z to 2. And I think my computer will blow up trying to render this thing, but we will wait for a second or for 5 minutes to render this frame and see how it will look. And while waiting to render this thing, I will talk. Whoa, that was fast. And as you can see, it's a pretty intense effect here. You may want to decrease the opacity to 6% because we get these overlapping shapes from the trap code form, which are set to screen mode and they are almost white, and we don't want kind of a completely white things here except for the lens flare, but this is the lens flare nature, as you know. The center spot is white always. Okay, my computer is having a hard time trying to render this, but the result will look cool, and of course it takes a bit of a tweaking, I can't recreate completely my original example. As you can see, I don't want this displacement around here. I want displacement only on the top, and this can be fixed by going to the fractal strength map and bring up this black closely here, and maybe decrease the alpha map and move this and these points to the center, but it will take me another 40 minutes to tweak all the settings and see how the final result will look. And for the sake of this tutorial, I'm not going to use your time with tweaking settings, and I will leave this fun part to you. And basically that's it. That's about how to create this energy bolting, and you can use this for a number of things. You can track it to your hand and simulate kind of an energy ball in your hand, kind of a heroes type of effects and stuff. And let's come here to the adjustment layer on top, come to blur and sharpen, and apply a vector blur and set it to 10%, and you can set it to 25% or -5 or so, and you can create amazing things just with a slight blur, and maybe change the type of the blur to something different and create unique effects. Also, you can add some kind of particles and lightnings going across the sphere, but that's up to you, it's your choice. And hopefully this tutorial was useful for you, and I'm waiting to see what you've created based on this tutorial, and I think it will be pretty cool. So once again, I'm Stefan for A Tuts Plus, and we'll see you next time. Bye.